All right, Corey. So the last time you had got off the pod when you did the Masters preview with Dale and I, you hit a hole in one the next day with the US Open this weekend. I don't know if you're going to be glued to the couch again, or I don't know if you might try to sneak in around. Are you going to be able to hit another hole in one for us?
I've got a tee time for tomorrow morning. No, I'm just kidding. Unfortunately not. I don't have anything booked for this week, but yeah, that was pretty wild. It was fun kind of chit chatting with you after that and joking about the luck of the podcast. So
I'm
good
glad that
times.
it was good juju and some good luck. But what's up, man? How you been? It's good to have you on. Thanks again for the time. I think we've developed a pretty good trend now. So basically every major you have to come on. Like, I feel like you're contractually obligated now.
Yeah, sign me up. I'm here, man. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you with quotations. So we're on Zoom, but yeah, it's good to see you, man. Been listening to your stuff recently. As always, love the stuff you guys are putting out, and I'm excited for another major right there in pretty much our backyard, San Diego. So should be a good one.
We have the US Open this weekend at Torrey Pines. I think I'm being a little biased. Definitely top 5 courses, I think, in the United States of America. And unfortunately, it happened to fall in a year, of course. This is just San Diego luck with sports. I followed the global pandemic, but with all the vaccinations being rolled out, I'm just happy we have it. It seems like it's relatively on schedule, but I wish we could go. There's only certain amounts of fans that can go. And I believe the U.S. Open, are they separate? They're the USGA, right? Like, are they not the PGA Tour? Like, how do you decipher the difference between that?
Yeah, so there's like the PGA tour, and then there's also the PGA, which is its own separate entity. So they run like the PGA Championship, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have the USGA, which runs the US Open, and then obviously the Masters has Augusta and their committee that runs that. So they're
Yeah.
separate entities for sure. But yeah, it's a huge bummer that unfortunately we're not going to be able to go this year. Was something that was on my list for gosh the last couple years. Honestly, I mean, I marked it on my calendar, seeing as though we're so local, and last time they had it here was 13 years ago in 2008 when Tiger won. So it was one of those things that I've been looking forward to for a long time, and we are where we are right now, and it's unfortunate, but hopefully I'll get to go to the next one in another 15 years or whenever they have it back here.
I mean, this is no knock, obviously, like on, the Farmers Insurance Open, because that's still really fun too. And you still get to be on the course, but just like the pageantry and the fact that it's a major. And like you said, 13 years ago already? Like, I remember watching that match with Tiger. I mean, that was awesome. But I guess I got to ask, there's certain players, and we've kind of touched on this the last few pods, that really relish amongst fans and the crowd and the gallery, the energy, however you want to classify it. And although it's not going to be full capacity, and the cameras are going to do a pretty good job of kind of disguising it, making it seem like it's a packed house when really it's not at all.
Right.
It's a good thing though, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Look, I mean, at least there's going to be some fans there. You look back to about a year ago when we had the PGA Championship at Harding Park in San Francisco, and there was nobody there, right? I mean, it was completely empty except
Is
for
that when
staff. And
Morikawa dropped the top of the
yeah,
Wanamaker fell off?
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So
2020.
right, exactly. So fast forward a year. I mean, at least now we have people here at the U.S. Open. It's by far one of the best majors, simply because you have so many people that can qualify through various means, including like local U.S. Open qualifiers, and they continue to progress through those different stages. And that's the one thing that's awesome about what the USGA does is for so many years they've had the opportunity to allow amateurs and other people to qualify to be in this tournament, which can give rise to some great careers. So it's a really exciting and awesome tournament, and it's great that it's at Torrey. I think Torrey's an awesome venue for it, and it is going to have a different buzz. Being a major versus the Farmers Insurance Open, it's going to play a little bit more difficult, but it's just such an iconic and great golf course that I'll still try to be glued to my seat as much as I can this weekend to watch it. But it's definitely sad that we won't be able to be there in person.
Well, I mean, you might be a little too busy hustling people on the course for money and hitting hole in ones. So somehow try to fit in watching it on TV. No, I'm just kidding. I just hope that this is the last major. I really hope that when we come on, like I said, you're contractually obligated to come back. That we don't have to keep talking about the health guidelines and 50% capacity and it's been upgraded to set, all that. I really hope going forward, California's reopened now, as of like midnight last night, just everything's magically open again. So, I'm happy for that. You were mentioning how, yes, it is a special feeling with the major, there was someone that I want to get into right now. So we were speaking of the PGA Championship, our guy, a local, Phil Mickelson, captured the PGA Championship a couple weeks ago. And it was quite a spectacle to see on TV. I think just given the history and legacy of Phil Mickelson, it was someone you wanted to root for the whole time. And you thought, after the beginning of the fourth round, it's like, okay, we've seen this movie before. Is he going to melt down? Is he going to have some errant shot in the water? A triple putt, whatever we've seen in the last, few years. And, I never really dogged the guy. And I gotta admit, I have to admire what he has done physically and mentally, and I guess spiritually as well. We had gone back on text messages, and it was fairly well documented that Phil himself had basically retrained his mind, changed his diet at the and at the expense of some certain media people. They kind of made fun of it, but he stayed the course. I'm not quite sure if he had any swing corrections or not. I just think everything he's had to kind of recalibrate. I mean, can you expand on that? Like how difficult is that? And then to do it, it's not like he's 34 and he's like, oh, I got plenty of time. I mean, he's like 50 years old, and for him to have that transition later in his career, you've seen it with the Tom Brady's and the Serena Williams. I mean, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing you kind of nailed it was it's really tough when you're getting flack from the media and from all these people that don't understand where you're coming from and why you're doing it. And I
And
think
are
at the
10 times
beginning,
shittier at golf than he is, and they have the
right,
nerve to say that.
exactly. Yeah, and I think people thought he was distracted and he was trying to build this company, Coffee for Wellness. And what I always saw was a guy that's just passionate about everything that he does. And for him, it got to a point where I think he's like, look, I need to take care of myself and my health. I am getting older. And if I want to be able to sustain what I'm doing, we've seen him dominate on the Champions Tour. He wants to play for as long as he can. And how do you best do that? Well, you take care of your body, right? And so he got himself into phenomenal shape. And with that can still be a tough situation, just trying to kind of maneuver the ins and outs of any swing changes you might have to make while your body's going through the transformations, but the discipline it takes to stick to your guns and do what you think is best for you when you have a bunch of naysayers, to block that out and to continue doing what you're doing. And then to see that come to fruition at the end with not only a win, but a major championship at his age was so incredibly impressive. And the stones he showed on Sunday to go out there and do what he did, playing with Brooks Koepka, who's we know has been incredible in majors. His resume speaks for itself, but to do what he did and to get it done was absolutely incredible. Something I'll remember forever. We got spoiled with Tiger in 2019, and now we got Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just cool to see some of the older guys getting it done. And it's really great. Phil will always go down for me as one of the best golfers ever. Not only because of his resume and his wins and all that, but just how he interacts with the fans and social media and the kind of person that he is and what he's been through. So for me, it was just awesome to see Phil win. I was rooting for him all Sunday.
I think it was the COVID Masters when DJ won it. I think we went on this little tangent where I think I had asked you, would Phil benefit more, not just monetarily, would he thrive more on TV than he would playing? As you mentioned, yes, he's like a mayor. Everyone wants to take pictures. Everyone wants him to kiss their babies. Now they're vaccinated. And he's just a people guy. And, the whole, last year during the pandemic, when they did the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, just the cerebral part of the game, that was really cool because Tom Brady was not playing well at all. And it was raining and, it was Tiger's course. So it was kind of like home field advantage. But I remember there was this certain hole, I can't remember which one it was. And he just kind of broke down exactly what he needed to do. and he did it, and the ball did everything he said. I mean, which was awesome. And there was a point in that PGA Championship that the pace was slowed down. He was in control. Like there was no sense of rush. There was like, it just seemed that he had zoned everybody out. And that was one of those weekends where, the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs going on, there was like this sense of like, oh, we're back. Like, cause there was fans finally in the stands. And when he would have an outstanding shot, like when he hold out from the bunker, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I freaked out because I thought, God, this is
Yeah.
great. And then like the atmosphere of the gallery screaming, that was awesome. And then you saw the scene on 18, where apparently Brooks got, maliciously attacked on his surgically repaired knee. But, we saw that a little bit in 2018 with Tiger, where it was like a movie. The entire crowd like encapsulated him. Same thing happened with Phil, which was just so awesome. I wanted to ask, for him to be able to pull that off, I think he just had a birthday, if I'm not mistaken. But when he won it, he was the oldest player on tour to accomplish that, at 50 years old. I mean, what was more impressive to you, that win impacting his legacy, Phil, personally? Because then adding another major, that just adds so much more, quality to it. Or is it the middle finger that he sent to Father Time? I mean, the odds were stacked against him.
Yeah, I think it's like a combination of the both that makes it so incredible, right? It's like not only did he build on his legacy, but to do so while beating Father Time is amazing. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. If you think about it, he had struggled there a little bit. He hadn't been playing very well. And then all of a sudden he kind of was gaining some momentum earlier this year. We saw his statistics get a little bit better. He was starting to play a little bit better. And hearing him talk and some people on his team talk, they knew something was coming. They knew something was brewing. No pun intended. It was just a matter of time before, before he got that W. But I don't think anyone expected it to be a major championship. And so I think having those two combined together was kind of the big thing for him, as far as, like you said, beating Father Time and seeing guys waiting for him on the back of the green, like Paul Casey. Like it just goes to show like how important that is and what he just did for guys of that age, and to almost inspire some of those other guys like Paul Casey, who are still looking for his first major championship. It's just kind of cool to see. It's great for the sport, and it really sends a great message to people of all ages to never give up. So I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you.
He's reached this stage where, he's like everyone's dad. He's like the fun uncle. Like he's older than everyone, but he's still kicking ass. Unfortunately, though, the fairy tale, I think, is going to come to an end. Let's kind of pivot towards the U.S. Open and some odds. We'll circle back. I have a funny little thing on Phil towards the end of the pod, but just for the creative angle aspect, I'll get your favorites and dark horses in a second. I don't know if you can maybe predict this. You've been pretty good. You've won a handsome amount of money betting on golf. That's why I love having you on. Can you see a player that's primed for a major letdown? Potentially someone that is favored that probably won't make the cut, or you could see struggling this weekend?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's kind of the fun thing about major championships in general, but also like a US Open specifically, with how they set up the course, is like you can get crazy names from nowhere that are on the top of the leaderboard, and you can get these big names that just whiff completely, and they're gone on Friday. They're trunk slamming on Friday. So I think for me, two names that are kind of top of my list that I'm a little iffy about right now, who one of the guys I usually take, if you're familiar with this podcast with us for the major championships, one is Justin Thomas, and the other one is going to be Rory McIlroy. And Rory is a guy we've talked about in the past who I think does thrive a little bit more on having fans there. So I think that bodes well for him, and that's a boost of confidence. We just saw him win the Wells Fargo Championship about a month ago. But for me, those two guys aren't quite in the form that I'd like to see them heading into the US Open. They both won a major championship. Rory has a handful. But JT, there's like just not something right there with me. I don't think he's hitting the ball quite as well as he needs to go win a major championship, especially with his iron game. He's one of the elite iron players on tour. I've said this a bunch of times, but if I think of two guys that are elite ball strikers, it's Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa when they're on. And Justin just doesn't have it right now, and his putter isn't there right now. So that's a guy that I'm kind of looking to stay away from this week. And then Rory's another guy for other reasons that I think I'm going to pass on this week.
I think the biggest thing is when you get pissed off and you do like an office pool or something, it's like, oh, Justin Thomas is going to do perfect. He's like 6 over after Friday. You're like, God damn it. Like,